season. It is the time of storms, and I thought maybe we were going to get some thunder yesterday, but it really didn't happen. We did have some wind and a little bit of rain. I think we're in drought again, and it's in middle of June. But I'm going to read the story. It's from my memoirs, and it's bits and pieces of my memoirs and little excerpts. I am kind of a person that is a little ADD, so the way I write my stories is I will start one train of thought and then segue off, boing, and then eventually I will bring you back in to that point. So please, just hopefully you don't mind, because I will take you away and then bring you back possibly. Maybe not on this one, but I just always have to warn you. But this is I wrote White Bear Lake. 3 years earlier, I was selling jewelry with my friend Tony in White Bear Lake at Market Fest. Tony and I have been selling our crafts together. We met on the West Bank at Palmer's, where my sister worked as a bartender. We did our first show together at Cedar Fest. It was a symbiotic relationship. She had a physical body and knew how to do many things like raising a craft tent, display, make incredible native crafts, and I had the car and the money. I booked us into shows. She was able to sell with me. We would go to many art fairs in small towns surrounding the metro. We would head out to White Bear and start yapping, and I looked up and a sign appears that said Forest Lake. Tony aptly called these mistakes a Miss Terry Magical Tour, which we'd done many times. Luckily, we had a good sense of humor. We had many adventurous stories on our art sales. One day, we were set up at White Bear Market Fest, and the storm siren started blaring. We asked our art booth neighbor if it was a monthly routine siren. Almost immediately, the sky opened up, a big tree branch flew by, and the street in front of us was a river of coolers and artist items floating by. I froze, holding my jewelry board, which was attached to our table. Tony took charge and yelled, "We have to bring down the display." She took my frozen hand off the display and saved all our handmade jewelry from flying away. I do not react well to scary emergencies. I did the same when Bob called me on the 9th floor of our condo saying, "A tornado is heading my way, to take cover." Tornado in my window. I looked out the east patio window, and there was no wind. Bogey was on the floor sitting next to me at the dining room table, when I thought I should get up and away from the big windows, and then I saw the circular, rotating debris out the southern kitchen window. I froze watching it. I did not move towards safe shelter. Bogey and I were goners. Looked like blackbirds, and trash and leaves were in the circular motion. Well, this was a tornado that traveled north on Park Avenue and ricocheted off Grant Park condos and knocked off the Central Lutheran Cross. Bob was driving back at the time and saw the tornado and the huge damage caused by it in South Minneapolis. Luckily, it was slowed down by the buildings of the city by the time it reached us. There was a huge controversy because the ELCA voted to allow gay people to be ordained as pastors. They were currently hosting the ELCA convention goers that were at the convention center next door. The cross was a 12-foot tall, solid brass at 900 pounds. This was August 19th, 2009. People thought God was talking on both sides. One side was anti-gay, the other side was pro-gay. Meanwhile, they were ignoring the poor. Elliott Park was a depressed neighborhood with low rent housing disappearing, and homeless camps were growing, and there were many organizations supported people in poverty, like the Francis Drake Hotel, which had affordable rooms for rent, people serving people, Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, Mary's Place, Teen Challenge, and many more help organizations. Well, I hope another disaster isn't looming. I am terrible in a crisis. So I'll read a little bit more. Art saved me. We had a sign on our table that said, "Support our therapy, buy our art." Art not only helped me to deal with the stresses of low income and raising a family as a single parent, but it provided a little extra money for groceries, gas, and school stuff. It kept my mind busy in creating my original art. Art saved me, and I think by expressing something uniquely me. It was a positive way to meet people, and as my mom told me, "Terry, you have the gift of gab." Actually, she would say throughout my life, "Would you please just shut up?" She was right about me. I love chatting it up with people and showing my art. So back to meeting Bob. So this was before we met the Bob story. And I think I've already read that, so I'm going to let you go now, and hopefully you don't run into any bad storms. And I hope I don't run into any more, because I'll just freeze up again. I don't think I'm ever